Most people think confidence is about noise. They think the louder you are, the more certain you must be of yourself. They confuse endless words with power, frantic movement with dominance, and public display with control. That is the illusion the weak cling to because they need theatrics to feel alive. But the truth, the one most people are terrified to face, is colder and much more precise. Confidence isn't measured in how many people hear you. It's measured in how many people feel you. Real power doesn't announce itself with sound. It sits in silence, immovable, like a mountain in the middle of a storm. You can scream at it, mock it, throw yourself against it, and it does a flinch. That is the weight of true confidence. That is the psychology of nonchalance. If you want to become more unshakable, more strategic, and harder to manipulate, then subscribe to our channel right now. Let's go even deeper. The strongest presence in any room is often the quietest, the one who doesn't rush. The one who doesn't scramble for validation or spill unnecessary words. The one who is still when everyone else is frantic. That quality, that ability to carry yourself as if nothing can disturb you, is what separates rulers from followers, hunters from prey. It is called nonchalance, and once you master it, the world bends toward you without you having to chase it. Think about the last time you saw someone lose control. Maybe it was in an argument. Maybe it was during a stressful decision. Maybe it was just some small inconvenience that pushed them over the edge. They snapped, shouted, slammed doors, or stumbled over their words trying to defend themselves. And in that instant, their authority evaporated. They revealed themselves as fragile. Now think of the opposite, the one who doesn't respond, the one who waits, the one who lets the storm pass and then speaks when the silence becomes unbearable. That person doesn't just appear strong, they are untouchable, because what they reveal is not just patience but control. Nonchalance is control disguised as calm. It's the art of showing that nothing external has the power to disturb your inner state. And this unsettles people. They want you to react, they want you to break, because your reaction gives them leverage. But when you withhold it, when you act as though their actions barely exist, they are left powerless. This is why nonchalance is one of the most effective psychological tools you can develop. It turns every interaction into a battlefield where you dictate the terms, simply by not being moved. Most people misunderstand what it means to be intimidating. They think intimidation comes from being loud, from puffing up your chest, from making threats. But true intimidation is subtle. It insists when people cannot read you, when they cannot guess what you are thinking, when your silence forces their imagination to do the work. The mind of your opponent becomes your greatest weapon because it fills the gap with fear. And you created that gap by refusing to react. Imagine being in a room where everyone is scrambling for attention. They raise their voices, they argue, they try to dominate through presence. But then there is one person who does move, does flinch, does compete. They simply exist in that space as if all of it is beneath them. Everyone notices them, even when they say nothing. That is the paradox of nonchalance. By doing less, you end up commanding more. The less you reveal, the more others are forced to reveal themselves, but nonchalance is not laziness. It is not apathy, it is strategy, because the ability to appear untouched requires discipline. It means mastering the small impulses that drag ordinary people into petty reactions. It means killing the need for constant approval. It means becoming comfortable with silence, with patience, with letting things unfold instead of forcing them. This is why nonchalance is rare. It demands that you conquer yourself before you can conquer others. Think of the generals, the kings, the leaders who understood this. They knew that to win wars, you don't always need to fight every battle. Sometimes you win by doing nothing, by letting the enemy destroy themselves while you remain still. The battlefield of psychology is no different. The less you give, the more others reveal. The more you hold back, the more they expend. And the quieter you become, the louder their desperation sounds. Nonchalance is also dangerous because it creates mystery. People are addicted to certainty. They want to know where they stand, what you think of them, how much power they hold over you. When you deny them that certainty, you drive them mad. They begin overanalyzing every word, every gesture, every silence. They obsess over what you mean, what you feel, what you might do, and in their obsession, they expose themselves. You, on the other hand, remain untouchable. This imbalance of clarity is what makes nonchalance so powerful. They burn energy trying to decode you, while you conserve energy by giving them nothing. The psychology behind this is simple. People fear the unknown more than they fear the known. They can handle anger because it's predictable. They can handle shouting because it's visible. But when they can't read you at all, when you appear unmoved by everything, they begin projecting their fears onto you. They imagine you know more than you do. They imagine you hold cards you don't even have. They give you power by assuming you already have it. That is the silent leverage of nonchalance. But here is the warning: nonchalance without substance is empty. If you are simply indifferent because you lack ambition or drive, then you are not powerful, you are irrelevant. The key is to have weight behind your silence, to have competence, skill, and strategy backing your calm. Otherwise, your stillness is not intimidating, it is pathetic. Real nonchalance must be rooted in mastery. You act like you are unshakable because you know you can handle whatever comes. This is why the cultivation of nonchalance is not about pretending. It is about building yourself to the point where you truly don't need to react to every small thing. When your foundation is solid, when your skills are sharp, when your self-control is strong, then you don't need theatrics. You don't need noise. You don't need to prove anything. You can sit still and the world adjusts to you. And this brings us to a truth few are willing to accept. Power often belongs not to the one who moves first, but to the one who moves last. The impatient reveal their cards early, the desperate chase approval, the loud scramble to be seen. But the nonchalant? They wait, they observe, they let the others exhaust themselves, and when the time comes, they strike with precision. That is why their actions carry more weight, because they are rare, deliberate, and impossible to predict. You will know you are developing nonchalance when people start accusing you of arrogance, of coldness, of not caring. What they are really saying is that they can no longer control you. They cannot make you dance for their approval. They cannot pull strings and watch you jump. Your detachment frustrates them because it exposes their own dependency on reaction. And so they lash out, but even then, you remain still. That is when you know the dynamic has shifted. To master nonchalance is to master presence itself. It is to walk into any room knowing that you don't have to perform for anyone, that your silence is louder than their words, your patience sharper than their frenzy, and your calm heavier than their chaos. People will not always understand it, but they will always feel it. And the ones who feel it will either respect you or fear you, but they will never ignore you. This is only the beginning of the psychology of nonchalance, because knowing its surface is one thing, but mastering its depth is another. The real test is not simply appearing calm when things are easy. The real test is whether you can remain calm when the world is on fire around you. That is where nonchalance graduates from an idea to a weapon, and that is where we must go next. Another true training ground, perhaps the hardest of all, is your reaction to loss. Anyone can look composed when they stand victorious, when the world aligns with their desires. But the real measure of control emerges when the outcome twists against you, when something you craved is stripped from your grasp. Most people crack in that moment. They rage, they sulk, they spiral into despair. But if you are to master nonchalance, you must not. Your task is to accept defeat with the same stillness you would wear in triumph. That doesn't mean you don't feel the sting. It means you never let the world see it bleed through. Behind locked doors, you may plan revenge, sharpen your strategy, or seethe in silence. But in the open, your composure remains unbroken, your mask untouched. This restraint unsettles others more than any display of anger could. They expect a reaction. When none comes, they begin to wonder. and that wondering is where your advantage is born. Your words too must be disciplined. The tongue is a weapon, but it is also a weakness. Those who talk too much carve open their own armor. They reveal their intentions, their insecurities, their limits. They make themselves easy to read, easy to provoke, easy to predict. Nonchalance thrives in brevity. Say only what must be said, and let silence do the rest. Speak without hurry, without strain, and without the need to fill empty space. The fewer words you give, the more weight each one carries. This forces others to lean in, to guess, to project meaning onto your restraint. That guesswork creates an aura around you, a perception of depth and control. You do not hand them clarity. You hand them uncertainty. Understand this deeply. Nonchalance is not indifference. It is not the posture of someone who doesn't care. It is the posture of someone who cares with precision. You are not detached from everything. You are immune to anything that does not deserve your energy. That distinction is crucial. True power players are selective with their attention. They spend it like gold. They do not waste it on trivialities. They invest it only where it multiplies influence, where it bends others to orbit around them. When you master this, you will notice the shift in how others treat you. Their tone softens, their words slow, their requests become hesitant. They will lower their voices when they approach you. They may even question themselves before they speak, all because your very presence tells them they are not in control. You are. Nonchalance becomes a silent crown, a throne no one can see but everyone can feel. Because nonchalance, when sharpened, is not mere composure. It is a weapon. It can disarm rivals, unsettle enemies, and seduce allies into letting down their guard. Humans are creatures wired to chase validation, to respond to emotion. When you refuse to feed them either, you tear away the script they expect. You throw them into a space of doubt, and doubt is power. The loud, the aggressive, the desperate, they are easy to read. They burn themselves out in their performance. But the calm, the collected, the ones who never seem rattled, these are the figures others fear. In war, in politics, in business, the most dangerous person in the room is the one who does not flinch. Their composure infects everyone else with anxiety. Why are they so calm? What do they know that I do not? That imbalance tilts the field in your favor before you even move a piece. To weaponize nonchalance, you must embrace a single principle. Perception is reality. The world does not see your thoughts. It only sees your reactions. If you break, if you flinch, if you show desperation, you hand the script to others. They will exploit it. A negotiator who begs for approval is already beaten. A rival who rages at setbacks invites mockery. But the figure who stands serene, unbroken, sends a silent but unmistakable message. I am in control. I decide the pace. I dictate the outcome. Even silence becomes a blade in your hand. History remembers not just the generals who wielded armies, but the statesmen who wielded composure. They fought not with swords, but with presence. When rumors spread, they did not chase them with denial. They let them fester, letting uncertainty gnaw at their enemies. When rivals lashed out, they remained still, forcing others to exhaust themselves in fury. Their restraint was not weakness, it was the tightening of an invisible noose. You can employ the same. When provoked, remain unmoved. Let the anger of others expose them as unstable while you stand anchored. When pressured to decide immediately, take your time. Make your silence unbearable to others, until they reveal themselves in their desperation. The less you react, the more you see, and the more you see, the more control you command. Even attraction bends toward nonchalance. People chase what they cannot possess, what they cannot predict. Eagerness signals availability. Mystery signals value. When you withhold, when you become a puzzle, they lean toward you, compelled to decode you. And in that chase, they place themselves in your orbit. But beware, true nonchalance requires discipline. Many fail because they mistake it for laziness or apathy. Real detachment is not passive, it is active. It requires constant awareness, reading the room, sensing shifts, knowing when to reveal and when to conceal. If you remain distant always, you risk becoming irrelevant. If you reveal too much, you collapse the mystery. The power lies in the balance. There is also an offensive side to nonchalance. Sometimes the greatest strike is made by appearing disengaged. You let others believe you are not watching, not invested. They relax. They lower their guard. They overextend. And when they are exposed, when they are most certain of victory, you move. In politics, this might mean letting rivals think they have cornered you. Until you reveal the plan that erases their gains in a single motion. In negotiation, it might mean feigning indifference to a deal until the last moment, when you shift the terms entirely in your favor. Visible ambition alerts your enemies. Hidden hunger buries them. That is the genius of nonchalance. It cloaks your intent until it is too late. But here lies the danger. Wielding this weapon without mastery can destroy you. Nonchalance, like any blade, can cut the hand that holds it. The first danger is paralysis. If you misread the moment, if you cling to stillness when action is required, you invite disaster. Calm in the face of opportunity is not power, it is hesitation. A ruler who refuses to command in crisis shatters his own army. Your calm must be the surface, not the depth. Beneath it, you must always be moving. The second danger is indifference. If nonchalance becomes habitual, you risk sliding into apathy. You stop noticing the currents. You stop playing the game. One day you wake, and the board has flipped while you were staring at the ceiling. Detachment without awareness is not power. It is blindness. The third danger is silent resentment. Appear too untouchable, and others will quietly sharpen knives against you. People tolerate arrogance. What they cannot tolerate is invisibility. If they feel dismissed entirely, they will not confront you. They will conspire, and by the time you notice, the blade will already be at your back. Remember, winning the appearance of a battle is useless if it births a war you never see coming. The fourth danger lies in intimacy. Nonchalance is suited for arenas of politics, business, and power. But in personal bonds, it corrodes trust. If your allies never see you bleed, never see you moved, they will doubt your loyalty, your humanity. A ruler may wear ice in council, but must show warmth in private moments that secure devotion. The art is knowing when to be untouchable and when to be human. And the final danger, believing your own mask. If you wear the armor too long, it fuses to your skin. You forget what it feels like to remove it. You begin to mistake emptiness for strength. The mask should be a tool, not your identity. Power is adaptability, not rigidity. If you are ice in winter, be fire in summer. If you are stone in public, be air in private. Nonchalance is a performance, not a prison. Once you start performing it for yourself rather than the audience, you are lost. You no longer wield the weapon, it wields you. The true final rule then is this: stay unreadable but never inert. Stay composed but never detached from the current. Stay above the noise, but never so far above that you cannot hear the drums of danger. Because the moment you forget that your calm is a weapon, it will stop protecting you and begin burying you. Your stillness must never be mistaken for peace. It must always be the poised edge of a hidden blade, waiting for the moment to strike,